This is KTN Newsdesk. It is the 30th day of December 2013. Just 2 days to go to the year 2014. My name is Bonny Tunya and this is news as it happens. Today we have a lot in store for you as always, but we'll start with the by-election in Kisii County with a look at the Nyaribari Chache by-election. And voting in the Nyaribari Chache by-elections began early in the morning as residents of Kisii County went to the poll. That and more coming up in this bulletin. Welcome to the program. Now, voting in Nyaribari Chache by-elections began early in the morning as residents of Kisii County's most populous constituency head back to the polling booths to choose their member of parliament. A petition occasioned by a poll rerun after massive irregularities rendered the March 4th election null and void. KTN's Fred Omulo is traversing the constituency and gives us the very latest.
Hello?
Hello, Fred. What do we know from Nyaribari Chache?
Good afternoon, Bonnie. The situation is getting tense by the moment. About an hour ago, we just got word from the TNA candidate Robert Monda that his brothers had just been attacked in town and one of his cars destroyed. Right now, their supporters are at the Central Police Station. They've clashed right here. Tear gas has been lobbed at the crowds here, and some of them have been dispersed, but the two antagonists, who is Chris Bishage of ODM and Robert Monda, are in the station. I understand Robert Monda is recording a statement. There have been some ugly scenes inside there, but the police have prevented us from going inside. It's a small clash going on between the two. Yesterday, ODM had claimed that TNA is sponsoring some youth around town. Formerly, they are part of the community policing system here, and ODM was claiming that TNA is sponsoring them to create chaos and mayhem overnight. Nothing did happen, but this little incident here seems to be escalating out of hand. Apart from that, everything else is going on well. Voting is proceeding around the constituency.
Right. Fred, you do say there are allegations of violence from either sides of the divide, but do we have a confirmation or denial from the law enforcement agents in that area?
Currently, the police are inside the station with the two antagonists. We understand, we are not sure, but we understand that Robert Monda is recording a statement right now regarding the violence that his brothers underwent earlier in the morning. He had called us earlier and informed us that he's going to the station to record that statement because of the attack. So we haven't spoken to the police yet. They're still inside with the candidate.
Right, Fred, and you said voting started early morning. Have all the contestants voted yet?
So far, we've been able to catch up with 4 of them. The fifth person told us they've already voted, and we can't trace the other 4. So that's a total of 9. The ODM candidate, we had him voting. In fact, you probably see those pictures running just now. Chris Bishage voted. Robert Monda voted. Richard Tiang voted, the one who occasioned this by-election through his petition, as well as the Labour Party candidate. All of these 4 voted, and Ken Omanga of Kanu told us he had voted early in the morning. We didn't get to capture that. The other 4, we are yet to see or locate them.
Right. Fred, we do understand there's a representation of Jubilee and CORD in that area, but do we see the national leaders of either side of the divide in that area during or even before this?
We are seeing the national leaders of TNA. For example, Johnson Sakaja has been around here, very conspicuous, very active during the campaign period, and thereafter he has been organizing the agents in preparation for this voting that is going on right now. I am aware he's here, and he hasn't hidden the fact that he's around campaigning for his candidate. Yesterday they were laying low because the electoral laws do not allow them to continue with the campaigns on the day just before the elections. As for ODM, it is more of the local leadership. We have Chris Obure, who is spearheading the whole effort, supported by other Kisii and Nyamira County MPs such as Manson Nyamwea and other county reps, members of the county assembly. the governors are not so much interested in the whole exercise, but basically the local political leadership is running the show in the ODM side.
Right, Fred, and finally, we do expect results to start trickling in the evening at around 6 o'clock. But how many polling stations do we have, and how do you expect this exercise to take off?
There are about more than 80 polling stations with 110 streams. So that's a little bit higher than the Bomachoge by-election that we had about 2 weeks ago.
Right.
And counting here is a little bit more complex because these stations are smack in the middle of town. And some of them have such a huge number of registered voters that it will take a while. And as voting ends, you know that there's usually a rush just between 4 and 6 p.m. when voting closes, and the queues suddenly grow. Once voting ends, they close the door to the entry to the polling station, but the voters who are inside have to be allowed to vote before counting begins. So if you put in all these dynamics, probably we are looking at something like 10 p.m. for the interim results to be out. But there are some small polling stations in the rural, the peri-urban areas around this Nyaribari area, and these have something like 80 voters, 100 voters. Those ones will definitely start sending in their results within an hour after closing. So from around 7, you should be seeing results.
All right, Fred Omulo, many thanks. And Fred Omulo is traversing the constituency of Nyaribari Chache, where we have a by-election underway. And as he says, we're expecting results to start trickling in at 6 o'clock, and KTN will be on top of that. Moving on, we have some breaking news and news just in from the international field. Gunmen in the Democratic Republic of Congo have reportedly attacked the country's airport and seized control of the state television headquarters. This is according to the international media. Just last week, United Nations peacekeepers in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo gave logistical and other support to the armed forces of the Democratic Republic of the Congo to help them regain control over all of its positions in Kamango in the Beni area of North Kivu. We shall update you more on the developments as and when they happen. Right, and just 2 days to the close of the year 2013, majority of Kenyans say they believe the economy will worsen in the year 2014. In a new poll by Ipsos Synovate, 70% of Kenyans are pessimistic that Kenya's cost of living and general economic conditions will get from bad to worse in 2014. In a similar study conducted in December of 2012, Kenyans were more optimistic towards 2013 as 67% expected the cost of living to drop. Now, according to Margaret Ireri, who is the managing director of Ipsos Kenya, while the economy grew at a macro level, the VAT Act of 2013 has seen an increase in the cost of many household goods and remains an enormous challenge for Kenyans. Now, in a survey, only 40% of Kenyans felt employment opportunities will improve in the year 2014, with 49% of Kenyans saying they expect the security situation to improve in the coming year. Now, in the political arena, Kenyans had a slightly better expectation of 2014 compared to other variables. 27% of Kenyans expect 2014 to be better, 37% to be worse. And the Jubilee government has been in office for only 9 months, and it continues to face opposition internally from its coalition and outside from the opposition. Now, this could have been responsible for the view that political climate may worsen in the year 2014. Now, as for the aspirations of Kenyans in the coming year, majority of Kenyans would like to save more money. This was followed by a desire to pursue further education and a need for a good job in the coming year. Do let us know what you think about the coming year, whether you're pessimistic or optimistic. Our handle is at KTN Kenya, and I will be glad to share that with you. Moving on, a section of leaders from the Maasai community have also taken issue with the President Kenyatta's over the appointment of parastatal heads. Led by Narok Senator Joseph Stephen Ole, the leaders maintain that Uhuru sidelined the community in the recent appointments. They are speaking during a prayer day organized by the pastors in Narok.
Si itakuwa ni shida ama itakuwa ni aibu sisi tukiwa tunalalamika na tuko ndani ya serikali? Si ni kweli? Lakini nataka tu kuomba Mheshimiwa Rais Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta pamoja na Mheshimiwa naibu yake Mheshimiwa William Ruto pia waangalie Narok County, kwa sababu kwa ile kura iliyopita Sisi tuliinua mambo ya hii Jubilee, tumeweka mbele na hatutaki tuwekwe nyuma. Ama nyinyi wananchi mnasemaje? Katika Jubilee tunaomba His Excellency the President hakikisha kwamba the face of Kenya and regional balancing is observed. Na kufanya hivi inamaanisha unity in this country.
We start our county road trip in Nakuru, where church service in Nakuru County was paralyzed for close to 4 hours following a failed transfer of the church senior pastor. During the 4 hours, the Egerton Pentecostal Assemblies of God church leaders engaged in dialogue in a closed-door meeting. A few faithful continued with the worship session, while a section of the rival members who turned up for the morning prayers engaged in a heated verbal exchange as they threatened to go physical. Those in support of the senior pastor John Simiyu accused the former leadership in the church of funding the aborted transfer through false allegations against the pastor. Simiyu, who has served for more than 2 years in the church, blamed the wrangles on a section of leaders not keen on ongoing developments in the church. Now, the church district overseer Wycliffe Aswani later announced the cancellation of intended transfers, insisting that the new pastor will take over the leadership of the church in January the 12th, 2014.
Tunajaribu kufanya hivi, tunashindwa. Niliongea hapa Jumapili nikashindwa.
Pia unaona vile wanacheza. Ni wamama wawili na huyo pastor. Naye pastor amepotoka.
Watu wengi ni wale wanataka aende tupokee mgeni mpya, atulishe neno mpya na yeye.
Last Sunday on 22nd he came abruptly without informing me, na can threaten. Kaniambia, I will make sure you go out of this church. And of course I've seen. The same night, nilikuwa attacked. Unknown people came to my house.
Pastor mbele muda aomboleze mshiriki wake. Akisha kumaliza tutalete mchungaji, hatutabadilisha. Ni ule Moses ambaye alikuwa anataka kuja hapa.
Two elderly women in Gadhuri village, that is in Maragua constituency, are counting their losses after their houses were torched by area residents who accused them of practicing witchcraft. The irate residents invaded Sarah Wamboi and Kezia Wanjiru's homes and torched their houses, claiming that they were sorcerers. The two, aged 65 and 75 years, fled to Nairobi for safety. The elderly women are alleged to have bewitched 2 security officers who died under mysterious circumstances and were buried during the festive season. Others, however, defended the pair, saying the grannies had been accused falsely and should have been allowed to tell their side of the story.
Sababu watu walikuwa wanasema yeye ni mchawi na tulikuwa tunasema yeye si mchawi. Na sasa tumeona yeye ni kama vile watu walikuwa wakisema.
Days after the government banned buses from traveling at night and introduced special permits for such, some members of the public have now opted for alternative means of transport. Some families in Voi that have traveled to the countryside before the ban are now opting to take the train back to the urban centers served by the Kenya Railways. For most of them, this is the only affordable means of traveling at night, which they say also as an adventure for most public service bus operators have doubled their charges to take advantage of the festive season rush. Now, the bus fare from Voi to Nairobi is currently at 1,500 shillings, while train transport 350 shillings only. The passengers' trains are scheduled 3 days in a week from Mombasa to Nairobi.
Kwa sababu reli kitengenezwa ikirekebishwa, maana walisahau. Kwa hivyo itakuwa ni nafuu sana, hata abiria hawatakuwa wanateseka kama itakuwa wamesema kwamba wanaleta ile mpya badala ya zamani.
Si ati ni pesa ama nini, nafasi hazikuwa, magari hazikuwa. So imetubidi tukae the whole day tushinde town na watoto wetu. Watoto wameshinda njaa na hii gari tena tunasikia hiyo gari la moshi lenyewe linakuja huku saa 5. Sasa sijui hiyo saa 5 kesho tunaenda kufika saa 6 na watoto tu tumeshinda nao mikononi. Hiyo story si ati imetusaidia vile.
The National Youth Council is demanding that President Uhuru Kenyatta withdraws the recent appointments of parastatal heads. Led by the chairman Clement Ayungo, the Youth Council is asking Uhuru to make fresh appointments, giving 1/3 of the places to the youth, 1/3 to women, and at least 5% to persons with disabilities. But speaking in Nairobi, the West Pokot Senator John Lonyangapuo supported Uhuru, especially on the appointment of former head of civil service Francis Muthaura.
Men don't have any issue so seriously to do with what takes place there, but they can advise. But the fellow who must be pinned is the CEO and the management. So local politics should normally be contained there. Don't upgrade local politics to the national level until it crowds the direction what is normally required.
We urge the presidency or the president to implement the Jubilee Manifesto to the letter, on the basis of which the young people or youth elected them to office, and the premise of youthful, transformative, and new phase of leadership. We implore, or we call upon the president and his deputy to revoke the appointments and consult widely. And a fresh list should be constituted, giving 1/3 of those appointments to the youths of this country, the other 1/3 to the women, and 5% of the appointment should go to the people living with disability.
Welcome back. You're on the news desk. World leaders are trying to put pressure on South Sudan's fighting factions, even as more than 1,000 people are reported to have been killed in 2 weeks of fighting. The world's youngest nation plunged into chaos 2 weeks ago when President Salva Kiir accused his former deputy of mounting a coup, sparking deadly violence believed to have left thousands dead.
This is the scene at just one of the distribution sites at a UN compound that is in the capital, Juba. This compound alone housing some 20,000 refugees. They're receiving very thin mats, blankets, other essentials, but perhaps more importantly, these emergency food rations, one in particular for the children, and then another one called Super Cereal Plus for the entire family. And even though the capital has been relatively stable for the last week or so, people that we've been talking to here are telling us that they quite simply cannot go home. We met one man who told us that his brother went back to their neighborhood in the early days trying to get water and other basic necessities, and he was killed. A number of other people we're speaking to telling us similar stories as well, and that is why these refugees are choosing to live like this instead of even attempting to return back to their neighborhoods. They have no confidence that they will be safe when they are back home. There's a lot of anger, there's a lot of frustration with the government, with the various warring parties, because those that are in this situation say that they are victims of dynamics over which at this stage they have absolutely no control. Arwa Damon, CNN, Juba.
Well, that's how things look like in southern Sudan, but elsewhere, millions of people around the world will go hungry this festive season. But singer Christina Aguilera has become a voice for them. She recently was in Rwanda, courtesy of the World Food Program, to better the lives of thousands who still cannot afford a decent meal. Here's the story.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star.
Christina Aguilera is lending a hand and her voice in the fight against world hunger.
How I wonder what you are.
The Grammy winner says becoming a mother played a key role in her decision to get involved.
When I look at my son, I realize all the opportunities that he has around him. And every child deserves the chance to dream and to hope.
Aguilera recently traveled to Rwanda as an ambassador against hunger for the UN World Food Program.
It's just so lovely to see them smile and their eyes light up, and for them to be eager to get education and in the long term try and provide for their family and break the cycle of going hungry.
This is Aguilera's third trip with the World Food Program. She previously visited Guatemala and Haiti.
why not do all I can to give these children a voice of their own, to be heard and to have the same opportunities that everyone else should have.
Like a diamond in the sky.
Well, indeed, she is the voice. Let's take you to Central Africa, where hundreds of people fled the interreligious violence in the Central African Republic, boarding emergency flights to neighboring Chad. Reprisal attacks between the Muslim Seleka rebels who seized the power in March and the Christian self-defense militias have killed more than 1,000 people this month in the capital city of Bangui. Despite the presence of 1,600 French peacekeepers and nearly 4,000 African Union troops, a recent surge in violence is forcing many to flee their homes. The anti-Balaka Christian militia has targeted Muslims they alleged were aiding Seleka rebel fighters. And with many Seleka coming from Chad, its citizens have also become targets. This prompted the Chad government to charter flights to take them home. Cameroon also flew home 214 of its citizens on Friday, bringing the number evacuated this month to 926. Senegal and Niger have also asked international organizations for migration for urgent help in extracting hundreds of their own. Just over 800,000 people have fled their homes since the latest violence began in December. About half of them are seeking refuge in makeshift camps in the capital and at the airport near a French military base. Great, and that's pretty much all the news we have for you on this 30th day of December, just 2 days to the next year. Remember, the website you all need to be checking out is standardmedia.co.ke. I will see you again tomorrow. Good night.